We are back here on the Lynne Hayes Freeland Show. There are just some things in life I do not understand, but that's why I have friends like Dr. Kimberly Ellis. And I said there were a couple of things that you brought up in the last segment that I wanted to unpack. And that there's two things that a lot of people are still trying to come to terms with. One of which is the idea of trying to discount Black voters. When you look at Georgia, and I know you've spent time in Georgia, when you looked at trying to get rid of votes in Georgia, it felt as if they were Black and brown votes that were trying to get thrown out. All of the votes that the effort to discount them, they were Black and brown votes. Even in Pennsylvania, many of the votes that the effort to discount them was, it seems that there was a lot of anger around those votes. What do we do with that? Because the realities are, we're now heading into the inauguration. We know all of the tensions and all of the fears and concerns about going into the inauguration. How do we deal with that? Because this is now a movement. This wasn't a moment. This was a movement.
Yeah, basically, we let democracy win. The voters came out and everybody had the opportunity to either mail in their vote or show up and issue their vote. No one stopped anyone from voting. In fact, voter suppression was at an all-time high against Black and brown voters. And so we just simply refuse to let voter suppression stop us. Down here in Georgia, you saw those people wait 8 to 11 hours in line. Lynn, voter suppression is waiting over 1 hour in line. And we waited for 8 to 10 to 11 hours. I am amazed by that. And I am not going to let those voters be discounted. And I think that just overall, if you look at what Donald Trump, the cities that he's resisting, Detroit, Arizona, the states that he's resisting, Michigan, but certainly Detroit, Michigan,
Mhm.
Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, Atlanta, Georgia. He's very upset about those votes because those are urban centers and that's where our votes are concentrated. And so yes, that's very important, trying to suppress the vote and then discount the vote. But I have to say, there's one more very sinister aspect of domestic terrorism that existed in Tulsa and it exists now. And that is law enforcement collusion with the mobsters. In some ways, they can be specially deputized, like in Tulsa. In Albuquerque, they were called armed friendlies. In Kenosha, Wisconsin, we saw those officers tossing water to the white militiamen, and they were already out past curfew. And then in the Capitol, we did see some Capitol Police collusion, opening those gates and letting the mob run right through. So that needs to be investigated. And that is a very serious problem. And one of the reasons why those mobsters are so shocked by being on the no-fly list, they're so shocked, by their arrest, is because they were told that they were going to be all right. There's no question about it. They were told by the powers that be, and we'll just let that be open-ended until investigations conclude, that law enforcement would be on your side and that you would be allowed to do this. And that is why Donald Trump had to be impeached again. He literally committed an acts of domestic terrorism and encouraged sedition against literally the government of the United States of America. It's atrocious on every level.
So I mentioned at the beginning of the show that I know exactly where I was the day the incident at the Capitol happened because I was working. I mentioned I was on the radio, but I had this on the television, and I remember my first thought. I remember thinking, "Am I seeing what I think I'm thinking? Seeing? Is this real? Where were you? And what was going through your head and your heart when you first saw these pictures coming out of Washington D.C.?"
Well, I was actually in my bedroom down here in Atlanta, Georgia, because I traveled down here to work as communications director for 1,000 Women Strong. And that is a coalition that, ironically enough, grew out of Stacey Abrams' campaign. And so our executive director, Shakia Cherry Donaldson, created the organization and set it up. And we worked. I mean, I worked remotely part of the time, and then I came down physically, but we worked for 7 weeks in rural Georgia, in places like Macon, Albany, Blakely, Columbus, Americus. We worked in 28 different counties. And that's what I'm saying, Lynn, that we did the hard work of democracy. And if anybody could have stormed the Capitol when the election was rightfully robbed from them, it was Stacey Abrams. But what did she do? She girded her loins and she decided to work hard for democracy and empower more voters. So to try to rob her again, of that victory, it's because of her and because of those of us working grassroots organization, the News Georgia Project, Black Voters Matter Fund. I mean, there's so many groups that worked together to bring out voters. And every vote does matter and every vote should count. And these people, their votes counted. They voted in Republican representatives. They have new senators. They have new House of Representatives. And the only thing that they cannot take is that their votes didn't add up to keep Donald Trump as the president of the United States. So that's the irony and the hypocrisy in their actions.
So that, hold that thought. We got to take a commercial break. I want to pick it up right there because I still want to know, though, when you saw this, what was your first reaction? Hold it, though. Hold it till we come back after the break.
Okay.